My name is Elara Moore, and I am 34 years old. I live in a small rented house near the edge of Brighton. The sea is close, but I rarely visit it. My heart feels heavy most days. Loneliness sits with me like a quiet guest that never leaves. Even when the sun shines, my chest feels cold and empty. I work as a library assistant in a silent building filled with old books. People think silence is peaceful, but sometimes it hurts. I spend my days arranging shelves and smiling politely. Inside, I feel tired in a way sleep cannot fix. My life became small after my divorce 3 years ago. Love left, but the pain stayed behind. The house I live in has 2 bedrooms, but only one feels alive. The other stays closed, full of dust and forgotten things. At night, the floor creaks softly like it remembers better days. I cook simple meals and eat alone at the small wooden table. The sound of my spoon feels too loud in the quiet room. I often stop eating halfway and just sit there. My parents died when I was young, so family means everything to me. The only person left from my past is my older brother, Caleb Rowan. He is 40 and lives across town. He used to be loud and warm, always laughing. When we were children, he protected me from everything. I trusted him more than anyone in this world. After my divorce, Caleb asked me to visit more often. He said family should stay close. At first, his words felt comforting. Slowly, they began to feel strange. He would cancel plans without explanation. Sometimes he would not answer my calls for days. When he did, his voice sounded far away. I tried not to think badly. People change. Life becomes heavy. I told myself this again and again. Still, a small ache grew inside me. It felt like losing someone without saying goodbye. I missed the brother who once knew my silence without words. On weekends, I walked alone through narrow streets near my house. The wind touched my face gently, like a quiet question. Couples passed me, holding hands. I lowered my eyes every time. My heart remembered what it felt like to belong. The memory hurt more than the cold air. At night, sleep came slowly. I stared at the ceiling and listened to the ticking clock. Each second felt longer than the last. Sometimes I whispered my brother's name into the dark. I wondered if he felt lonely too. I wondered if he needed me the way I needed him. One evening, I found an old photo of us as children. Caleb stood behind me, his hands on my shoulders. We were smiling without fear. I held the photo for a long time. Tears came quietly, without sound. I did not wipe them away. I felt abandoned, but I did not want to blame anyone. Life does strange things to people. Still, my heart sensed something hidden. A truth waiting behind a closed door. I did not know then how deeply it would change me. I only knew my quiet life was about to break open. The change came on a quiet Tuesday evening when the sky looked unusually gray. I had just returned from work, carrying a small bag of groceries. My phone vibrated in my hand. It was a message from Caleb. He asked me to come over that night, no reason given. His words felt rushed and cold. I stood in my kitchen for a long moment, reading the message again. Caleb never invited me suddenly. He always planned everything days before. My stomach tightened with a strange feeling I could not name. Still, I put on my coat and left. Family calls should never be ignored. His house looked the same from the outside, neat and calm. The light in the living room was on, but the windows were covered. When I knocked, there was a pause. Too long. Finally, Caleb opened the door with a smile that did not reach his eyes. His shoulders looked tense, like he was holding something heavy. Inside, the air felt different. Warm, but uneasy. A soft smell of perfume floated through the room. It was not mine. It was not something I remembered from before. I sat on the couch, holding my bag tightly. Caleb moved around the room, cleaning things that were already clean. He talked about small things. Work. Weather. Traffic. His voice sounded careful. I nodded and listened, but my eyes kept moving. A pair of women's shoes sat near the door. They were not there before. My heart skipped once, hard and fast. I did not ask. When I finally spoke, my voice felt thin. I asked him if everything was all right. Caleb froze for a second. Then he laughed softly and said he was just tired. His eyes avoided mine. I had seen that look before. It was the look people wear when they hide pain. We drank tea in silence. The ticking clock on the wall felt louder than usual. I wanted to reach for his hand, like I used to. I wanted to tell him I was here. But something invisible stood between us. A wall made of secrets and fear. As I stood to leave, I heard a soft sound from the hallway. A door closing. My breath caught in my chest. Caleb moved quickly and blocked my view. He said nothing. Neither did I. But in that moment, I knew something had entered our lives. Something quiet. Something powerful. Walking home that night, the wind felt sharper against my skin. My thoughts raced, but no answers came. I hugged my coat tightly and kept walking. The world felt unsteady beneath my feet. A door had opened, and I could not close it again. In the following days, I visited Caleb more often. Each time, I noticed small changes I could not ignore. A cup left on the counter, a jacket I had never seen, a photo that was not mine. He acted normal, kind even, but the tension remained. His smiles felt like shadows, soft but hollow. I wanted to ask, but fear held my tongue. We began to spend evenings together again. We made tea, sat on the couch, and talked quietly. Sometimes we walked along the narrow streets near his house. The wind was soft, carrying the scent of the sea. I felt moments of warmth, as if old trust was returning. My heart whispered that things could be okay again. One evening, he cooked dinner. The smell filled the room and made me feel safe for a little while. We ate slowly, talking about small memories from childhood. "Do you remember the summer we stayed by the river?" he asked. I nodded and smiled softly. These tiny moments made me feel closer to him again. Yet, the signs of another life lingered. A bracelet on his table, soft laughter from the kitchen when I was in another room, a scarf hanging on a chair that was not mine. My heart felt both warmth and unease. I tried to focus on the moments we shared, on the care in his voice. But something whispered that all was not as it seemed. One afternoon, he asked me to help him with some boxes in the attic. Dust swirled in the sunbeams that shone through the small window. We lifted the boxes together, sharing quiet words. He laughed at a photograph he found, and I joined in. I wanted to believe everything was normal. I wanted to believe him. Slowly, our connection deepened again. He would ask how my day went, and I would tell him in detail. He listened with patience, sometimes holding my hand lightly. Those touches were gentle, almost accidental. My chest swelled with emotion, and for a moment, I forgot the unease that had entered our home. One rainy evening, we sat by the window, watching droplets slide down the glass. I leaned against his shoulder, and he did not pull away. We shared stories, whispered secrets, and laughed softly. My heart felt light, but a small shadow lingered at the edge of my mind. I could not shake the feeling that something important was hidden. It was a soft, tender time. We were almost like children again, discovering each other anew. Yet the hidden signs remained, quiet and small. Shoes, laughter, clothes, small gifts. They were not explained, but I did not ask. I wanted to trust. I wanted to believe that my brother, my protector, would never betray me. During these days, I began to dream softly of a happy home again. Perhaps we could be like before. Perhaps he could confide in me. Perhaps life could feel safe once more. And yet, the shadows whispered in corners, reminding me that not all secrets are revealed gently. I tried to hold on to the warmth, to the tender moments. I smiled at him, and he smiled back. I held my breath, hoping nothing would break this fragile peace. But deep down, a small voice told me change was coming. And it would not be gentle. It started with small things I could not ignore. One evening, I noticed a soft perfume lingering in the air. I remembered he had never worn any scent before. My chest tightened, and I swallowed hard. My mind whispered a warning I did not want to hear. I began seeing shadows of another life in his house. A folded letter on the table, carefully hidden. A necklace draped over a chair, not his style. Quiet laughter from behind closed doors when I arrived early. Each small sign pricked my heart like tiny needles. I wanted to ask, but my fear stopped me. One afternoon, I found a photograph tucked between books on his shelf. It showed Caleb with a woman I had never seen. She smiled, her eyes soft and warm. My hands trembled as I held the picture. A cold weight settled in my chest. My brother had secrets, and I felt every heartbeat of betrayal. I confronted him gently, trying to sound calm. "Caleb, who is she?" My voice shook. He avoided my gaze, hands fidgeting. "It's complicated," he said softly, almost whispering. That single answer felt like a slap to my chest. Complicated did not explain the quiet heartache I already felt. Days turned heavier. I watched him from across the room, noticing the hidden life he tried to hide. A text message sent in secret. Laughter on the phone when I was nearby. Dinner conversations cut short. Each detail made my heart ache more deeply. The warmth we shared was now laced with fear. I began to doubt myself. Had I imagined the closeness? Had I misunderstood his kindness? But every hidden sign whispered truth in my mind. My brother, the man who once protected me, had built walls I could not climb. My chest ached with helplessness. One night, I followed him quietly after dinner. He walked down the street with careful steps, like someone avoiding detection. I stayed hidden, watching from the corner. And then I saw her. A woman, laughing softly, stepping into his arms. My heart broke into pieces I could not gather again. When he returned home, I did not speak. My eyes could not hold back tears. He tried to smile, tried to offer comfort. I shook my head slowly. You lied to me, I whispered. His silence was louder than any words. My world felt unsteady, like a house built on sand. The home that once held warmth now felt like a cage. Every corner echoed with hidden truths. I realized that the life I had tried to rebuild with him was no longer mine. My heart felt shattered, and each breath was heavy with sorrow. I wanted to run, but I had nowhere to hide. The betrayal was soft but deep. I had held hope in my hands, and it slipped through like sand. The brother I loved, the protector of my childhood, had a life hidden from me. A life where I did not belong. And for the first time, I felt utterly alone. The next evening, I could no longer stay silent. My hands shook as I poured tea that had gone cold. Caleb sat across from me, watching me with a quiet tension in his eyes. My voice barely reached him. Caleb. I need to know everything. I can't live in shadows anymore. He looked down, avoiding my gaze. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Finally, he whispered, Elara, her name is Marin. She is my wife. My world tilted. I stumbled back in my chair, trying to breathe. I could not form words. The room spun around me. Tears came unbidden. I covered my face with my hands, shaking. Your wife? You never told me, I choked. My voice broke, soft and desperate. Caleb reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. His touch, once comforting, now felt like betrayal. My chest ached with every heartbeat. He tried to explain, voice trembling. It happened after your divorce. I didn't know how to tell you. I wanted to protect you, not hurt you. But each word dug deeper into the wound. Protect me? How could keeping a wife's secret protect the sister he once loved? My heart screamed in confusion and pain. I ran my fingers through my hair, trying to make sense of it. Every memory of our shared moments now felt tainted. The laughter, the walks, the quiet evenings, all shadows of truth hidden from me. My hands trembled, and my legs shook. I could barely stand. The betrayal was heavier than I imagined. You lied to me, I whispered again, tears spilling freely. His eyes filled with regret, but regret did not heal the break inside me. I wanted to scream, to cry, to shake him. But words were lost, falling into the hollow emptiness I felt. The trust one had built crumbled into dust. For hours, we sat in silence. The only sound was my quiet sobbing. Caleb tried to reach for me again, but I could not let him. I wanted him to understand, to see the pain he caused. I realized that the brother I loved had chosen a life that excluded me. And the truth burned with unbearable clarity. I wandered to the window, staring into the dark night. The wind was cold, cutting against my skin. Each gust whispered of loss and loneliness. I held my arms around myself, shivering. My heart felt broken beyond repair, yet strangely awake. I could not unsee the truth. I could not undo the betrayal. Finally, I turned to him, voice soft and fragile. I need time. I can't do this right now. He nodded silently, eyes full of sorrow. No words could fix the pain. The revelation had shattered my world. The house, once filled with warmth, now felt like a place I no longer belonged. That night, I cried until my body ached. My pillow absorbed my tears, and the dark room held my sorrow. I realized that love could hurt more than hate. That trust, once broken, leaves scars that never fully fade. And yet, through the heartbreak, a small spark of strength began to grow inside me. The days after the revelation were quiet, but heavy. I spent hours walking along the seaside, letting the cold wind fill my lungs. Each step felt painful, yet necessary. My heart was raw, but I could feel it slowly learning to breathe again. I realized that healing would take time, and that was okay. I began to focus on myself. Cooking simple meals, reading old books, and journaling my thoughts. Each small act felt like a gentle step forward. I allowed myself to cry without shame, to feel without fear. Slowly, the weight on my chest became lighter, even if the memory of betrayal lingered. Caleb reached out occasionally, asking if I wanted to talk. I kept my distance, not out of anger, but to protect the fragile trust in my own heart. I learned that love sometimes means letting go, even when it hurts deeply. And sometimes, the strongest act is staying silent until you are ready. Months passed. I started visiting my favorite cafe near the pier, smiling at the familiar faces of strangers. Life began to feel a little warmer, though carefully. I met people who showed kindness in small ways, neighbors, coworkers, even a stray cat that followed me home. These tiny moments stitched my broken heart slowly. One evening, I sat on the balcony, looking at the sun setting over the sea. The colors were soft, bleeding into the sky like quiet promises. I thought of Caleb and Marin, and I wished them peace. But I also realized that my own happiness did not depend on their lives. I could build my own joy, slowly and gently. I forgave, not for them, but for myself. Forgiveness was not forgetting, it was releasing the pain that bound me. I felt stronger, more aware of my own heart. The shadows that once haunted my home felt smaller. My house, once empty and cold, began to feel like a safe place again. Through the quiet, I learned a simple truth: life can hurt, deeply, but we can rise from the hurt. Trust can be broken, yet our hearts are resilient. Love can deceive, yet love for ourselves can heal. Each moment of pain carried a lesson, soft but unforgettable. And in the end, I sat by my window, watching the world move quietly below. I felt a gentle warmth inside, fragile but real. I had survived the heartbreak. I had learned to stand alone, yet not lonely. Life would go on, soft and slow, and I would go with it. I whispered to the wind, softly, I am still here. I am still me. And for the first time in a long while, I believed it.